Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. Hit that one right on the button. Started the show right as soon as the thing hit zero. Pretty proud of myself. We like to start on time around here. Anyway, welcome to tonight's broadcast. The topic for tonight is For the Life of Me, Part 7, Loyalty, Beautiful Oblivion. Gosh, I love that. I can't wait to hear what that's related to. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. So, as always, we will say hello to the rest of the panel before we dig in. My name is Jason. For those listening for the first time, thank you for being here. If you're listening to the playback, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm the host of the broadcast, and I have with me three wonderful panel members. Who knows? Maybe we'll have more panel members. Maybe we'll swap them out now and then. There's changes coming. Don't know exactly what they're going to be, but there are changes coming. So stay tuned for that. Also with me is my amazing wife, Jennifer. Jennifer, take a second to say hello to the peoples.
Howdy, people. I won't do what I did last week where I started saying hi to people in the chat who weren't ready yet.
That's okay.
Good to be here, guys. It's been a really nice Sunday, good weekend, and just always looking forward to Sunday nights with you people. And I say people in the most loving, tender way.
Yeah.
Not people like you guys aren't, anybody special. You're special.
Care to share anything about our shopping trip?
We went shopping for some clothes because our clothes are too big.
Yep.
So it's a nice problem to have.
That's the only reason why we're talking about it, because
But I was going to say, Jason bought Drakkar. I was supposed to say Drakkar. Do you guys remember Drakkar?
I'm reclaiming it.
Reclaiming it.
Yep.
Reclaiming the 90s.
Yep. I don't care what my mom and sister said.
And then we listened to NXS on the way home, amongst other 90s bands. It was great.
It was a great time.
We called it the Drakkar Time Machine.
And Jennifer pulled me into the fitting rooms, and there was a chair in there, and I just sat by the big mirrors, and women walked by me. I kept thinking, someone going to say something that he's this close to women's dressing room, not in the stalls, but my gosh. And I got a couple looks from people. One black lady, I think, whispered to someone else. She said, "Is he supposed to be in here?"
Oh, no.
I was like, I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, anyway. They were all the ladies that came in were awfully quiet. I was like, maybe this wasn't a good idea. They can't really talk loud.
A little uncomfortable, but I thought if no one's going to say anything, and I had a prepared statement ready.
Let us hear it.
Said, "Oh, look, I'm sorry. No, my wife brought me in here. Thought it would be okay. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable," and then slowly back out.
Slowly back out. Dragging your chair.
No, there was another chair out there, but hands held up in supplication. Oh, okay, all right, I'm out. I think that'd be good. Huh. Anyway, welcome. Okay, so let's hear from our friend Marisa of the Nez Lover channel. Marisa, take a second to say hello to people. Sorry about the delay there.
It's okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to True Story Live. And I'm looking forward to getting hip deep in tonight's discussion. Glenn did the write-up again, so I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful discussion. We will be dropping a few links throughout the course of the evening. I usually drop links for people who've come from my channel, and I already know if they're okay with it. If you would like your link dropped, please let us know, and we'll share it out. If you do not wish for your link to be shared, please express that and we will respect your wishes. Also, we are looking for ideas for TSL, what to talk about, whether other people might want to come up and join us for an evening, whatever topic ideas. If you have a story or experience you want to share, reach out to us and let us know it. I'll be putting my email link in the chat for that, and I'll leave it up to my co-panelists to put their links out there too for their email to be reached out to. That being said, I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to all who watch and lurk and catch that replay. And please, if you feel led to, take a moment to share the stream out on your social media. That would be much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Last but not least, certainly, Glenn, the writer of tonight's write-up, our dear friend, Glenn.
Howdy, and right on time. Coco was just about to trample me. He's already jumped on the desk, stuck his head between the monitors, and now he's looking at me. That's a bad sign for me. That means he's ready to jump.
Get my food.
Oh, what? He's already over the odds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
It's extortion.
No. Cats know how to get you.
Cats are narcissists. I come to
They are. I mean, really, they care about themselves unless they need something, and then they're all like in your face. Where's my food? Where's my cuddles? Where's my back scratches?
But you see how simple that their life is. So simplistic. It just everything works. Ask for what you want, and if they don't give it to you, ask a bit harder.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, they basically hunt for fun. Seen so many cats just play with they've got a dead mouse and he's just pawing it. It's not eating it or anything, just pawing it.
I was just reading Celine's post. Hi, Celine. How does somebody know that God wants someone to do something?
That's a great question.
Because she made the comment there. I just thought, yeah.
I think that's a fair question. Anyone
It's
have
a great question. I feel like I've gotten different answers to that very question.
Yeah.
There's been times that I have followed my gut and I felt like it was what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
There's been times I've felt nudged, not like physically.
Right.
Like one time Jason was thinking of asking a family member to borrow something. And I just felt like that wasn't a really good idea. I just got this feeling in my gut. And I told him how I felt and he didn't do it. And something else came through, I think later that day.
Yep.
It's just pretty crazy. So, but I feel like it I don't, I used to want it to be a formula of some sort, but I don't think it works like that, which can be more frustrating.
Right.
What were you going to say, Jason?
I have, as long as I've been alive, or since my memory started, or since I feel like I had a quote unquote relationship with God, some things are obvious. I think they're obvious to all people, whether you believe in God or not. There are certain things that just are, to me, they should be common sense. And then there are other things, instances happening where prayer was involved, that something happened, and you easily call it a coincidence. I think a lot of it is your mindset. But I've had miraculous things happen, unexpected things happen. And do I know for sure that it was God? No. But I feel like it is. So for me, it's more of a feeling than anything else. But I've been wrong. I've thought something was from God. The good thing is, even if something bad happens or you go through some kind of struggle and you thought it was from God, it usually ends up being that way anyway. Sometimes, I feel like we need to go through tough times and they work out later.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be, it's spiritual to me, but to someone else it may not be. But that's the way I feel about it. So I don't think you can always know. I don't think there's any kind of gauge, similar to what Jennifer was saying. It ends up being sometimes it's a gut feeling, or it feels a little stronger than a gut feeling. But yeah, I don't know that there's an answer to that. What does Nez think?
I would agree with you both, and sometimes it's just a feeling. And for me personally, answered prayer. when there's absolutely nobody else or no other way a situation or circumstance could come about or become undone any other way except by the supernatural intervention hand of God. That tells me right there. Zero doubt about that. Also, a good way to tell, I believe is a good way to tell, does it line up with scripture? God is never going to ask you to murder someone, okay?
Yeah.
God is never going to tell you to steal from someone. God is never going to tell you to do things that are sinful in his sight. And he doesn't want you to openly hurt someone just for the sake of hurting someone. No. That's not to say if you're acting in self-defense, that's a different scenario. But I think you guys know what I mean. God's going to guide you along the path to help you grow and help you become a better individual. And sometimes you can tell it's God telling you to do something when you don't want to do it, or it might be difficult. That's from my experience.
Yep. All right.
I'm going to put my God hat on here.
Please.
I just was going to say to Celine, pretty well what Nez said, but a little different, is that if you believe that God sets a path for you, why not let it unfold rather than second guess him?
Oh.
Because I felt what you wrote, Celine, you're second guessing without allowing the freedom for that path to provide that guidance to you by the way it comes to you. Anyway, that's just a thought.
I like that. Well, Celine, take that the way that you will. But I think that's a wise thing.
I was going to say real quick, you and I have even had conversations about what if some of our mistakes were actually God's will?
Yes.
And I don't mean murder or anything. Yeah.
That was your question. Yeah, exactly.
Or is it more like the scripture that talks about God working out all things to your good? So when bad things happen, and even if you do make a mistake that's outside of his will, does he have the ability to use that free will choice to shape us in the way that he wants to shape us?
Yeah.
So
that's what I was trying to say, but I feel like I said it poorly. But yeah.
Oh, no, you did good.
I think it's very easy for people to make human decisions and then justify it by slinging it onto God.
Well, that definitely happens. And they do the same thing with Satan. Blame everything for Satan. And some things aren't Satan. Some things are because
decision.
Yeah, you made a horrible decision and you do cruel and horrible things to people. It's not just Satan's
Sometimes
fault.
It could be a little of both.
That's where it's important to remember. But that's where it's important to remember that God gives you free will. God doesn't make you do anything. Same thing with Satan. He can tempt, he can pick on you, he can harass you, but you still have that free choice.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good. Good stuff.
You made the point. So, people at the end of their lives don't have any excuse for the things they've done. But the accusation is that if you're a believer, you just get forgiven of everything. And so you can do whatever you want because it's going to get forgiven anyway. And those within the faith know that's not how it works. Grace isn't something to give you an opportunity to do whatever you want in life and then just know that you're going to be forgiven. I mean, what kind of way is that to live? That's not living as Jesus lived, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no excuse, is the point. That grace is wonderful, but when it comes to the things that you've done, I will still feel guilty. It's not that I walk around feeling sorry for the things I've done. There's nothing but the way that God has talked about standing before him. I have just always imagined feeling a little bit sorry. I'm sure it wouldn't last long. But yeah, how can you not, if you are standing in front of this being of all goodness and love, and you know who you are as a person, good and bad. I would assume, at least for me, that I would feel a little bit sad at first, a little bit bad, but I have the confirmation to live my best life and try as much as I can to love others and love myself. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's all I think I can do.
Yeah.
Some of it's out of my hands. All right. Jen, we only have a few so far tonight, but if you want to say hello to everyone, then we'll get started.
Absolutely. I'll start out by saying hello to Celine. Like how chatty she is tonight. We've also got our very own Nez Lover, and I think that's it so far. There might be some lurkers. Say hi, guys. Yeah. or not. You don't have to.
Yep.
Or maybe it's us too. And if it is, that's okay.
That's right. Yeah. I don't think we've ever done a show where nobody else showed up, though.
Yeah.
I think we've had a lot of starts
people pop in.
Only a few. And last week it was stayed right around 13 most of the time. 13 people.
Yeah, that's cool to have more people in hanging out with us.
All right. Well, we're going to get started, and anyone that misses, we'll try to say hello to people as they come in, as usual. But tonight's write-up is For the Life of Me, Part 7, Loyalty, Beautiful Oblivion. Welcome to Part 7 of For the Life of Me. Part 6, we spoke of those things we don't say and the various reasons why so. Tonight, it's mainly about the reasons why we tend to remain loyal to ourselves, another person, employer, family, a team, an ideal, a brand, an obligation, etc. Loyalty is a beautiful thing with some wonderful outcomes, but as most of us have seen at times, the consequences of misguided loyalty can sadly lead down another path. My loyalty to the composer of music for this series leads to the song choice for this evening, Beautiful Oblivion. Scott Buckley describes this song as a meditative, bittersweet, neoclassic work featuring cyclic piano, strings, synth, and solo violin, a reflection on the changing seasons and the determination for change in other parts of our lives. And the link is in the description. In basic terms, loyalty is attachment to something or someone. As with most aspects of human nature, we tend to be loyal because there's a rationale for doing so. The reasons may range from the, quote, what is in it for me, end quote, approach to, quote, I'm loyal because that's my nature, end quote. We are all aware that society crashes in on loyalty in various ways by use of incentives to stay loyal, such as credit card points, discounts, etc. That's not our major direction this evening, ours being the focus on loyalty or lack thereof, derived from such things as admiration, caring, support, appreciation, and love, etc. I would think most people in their life have had to make a choice of whether to remain loyal or set that loyalty aside and move on. In another sense, perhaps that means there are decisions to be made when loyalty to self feels compromised. Our initial questions are, what does loyalty mean to you? Where do you believe your general attitude towards loyalty has emanated? Do you consider yourself a loyal person? And if so, why? Now to the more personal aspect. Can you identify circumstances where your emotionally based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Can you identify circumstances where your spirituality-based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Can you identify circumstances where your values-based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Can you identify any other circumstances where your loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Now, let's look at some of our attitudes that influence loyalty in ourselves and others. Do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how? Do you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how? Do you exhibit transparency and honesty? If yes, how? Do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? If yes, how? I love that last one. They're all good. It's a huge topic of which we have only touched the surface. To close the show, I'm asking Cripps to further discuss the direction of True Story Live. I'm going to do this at the beginning as well. So Glenn says, basically, it would be beneficial to hear why each of us participates in the show, whether directly or via listening to the replay on YouTube. For example, is it allegiance to the show itself, the social interaction, the nature of the content, loyalty to a panel member or members, etc.? Another way of putting this is to ask what is in the show for each of us. There's feedback that the show has become repetitive because we draw upon the thoughts from a fixed panel. Does anyone have any thoughts on the makeup of the panel? Are we too similar in attitudes? Should we be seeking a wider and more diverse range of ideas for discussions? Any other input appreciated? Thank you for being here. And then a quote, loyalty can never be imposed by force, fear, insecurity, or intimidation. It is a choice that only strong spirits have the courage to make. And that's our friend Polo Quarto. Okay, great. Beautiful Oblivion. I love it. All right. Let me check the chat real quick. See if anyone else is here. Not yet. All right. Okay, our initial questions. So the last sentence before we start, I would like to think most people in their life have had to make a choice of whether to remain loyal or set that loyalty aside and move on. In another sense, perhaps that means there are decisions to be made when loyalty to self feels compromised. So the first question is, what does loyalty mean to you? What does loyalty mean to you? Anyone want to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
Kind of makes my thoughts go towards someone who always stands with you.
Yeah.
Someone who is always by your side, even when it gets hard, even when it's not convenient for them, possibly. Sometimes I think of work, in the work mindset, but it could be for anything.
Sure.
Someone that maybe gets a better deal, like a better pay at another job. And instead of thinking about the monetary gain, you're thinking about the gain of the loyalty that you have with this company that you like and have worked for a long time, you're a family with a little bit.
Sure.
Could be something like that. But yeah, sometimes it's not convenient to be loyal.
No.
But you do it anyway if you're loyal.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We'll get more into that too later. Some of these questions are going to dig some things up, I'm sure. What does loyalty mean to you? I think for me, it's being there for someone or something, like Jen mentioned, job. I'll say more about this later too, but I feel like I'm a fairly loyal guy, but that's not what the question is. What does loyalty mean to me? To me, it means someone standing by me. Similar to what Jen said, someone who is there for you. Someone you can count on, someone you can talk to, someone you can trust. I think loyalty to me wraps up a lot of other emotions that build what loyalty is.
Yeah, like I think of the word dedicated, like dedication.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, loyalty can be dedication for sure. I'm sure more will come out about that. What the word actually means to me. These questions are formed to kind of pull that out of you, make you think about what loyalty actually is and how it relates to you. before we move forward, the way this ends, this last sentence before the questions. In another sense, perhaps that means there are decisions to be made when loyalty to self feels compromised. I think that's huge. I don't know how often people think about the loyalty to their self. I think it's a great point to make. I would love to be loyal to myself. So we'll get into whether I've done that successfully or not. Naz, what do you think? What does loyalty mean to you?
Well, the dictionary says loyalty is a strong feeling of support or allegiance.
Sure.
And I'm going to come at this from a social media experience point of view.
Oh, okay.
I think that I've learned from my social media, particularly YouTube experience, being loyal means you are not going to go somewhere on that social media that is going to be a place that is putting you down, putting other people that support you down, a negative, hateful, gossip filled kind of place.
Clickbait.
I've had experiences with that. I don't call it loyal if you're coming to my world and acting like everything's fine, and then you're seen either eating popcorn and being entertained by hatred and nastiness towards me or people in my world, or actively participating in that kind of behavior. That's disloyalty.
It is
And
disloyal.
I've seen that happen many times, not just with me and my channel. But loyalty means I am never going to be found participating in that kind of toxic situation, particularly towards people that I consider friends, that I consider people in good standing, that I have a good rapport with, that I appreciate and enjoy their ongoing support, whether it's as a friend or subscriber or what have you. So loyalty means you're not going to go there and be found in a negative place behind somebody else's back.
Yeah.
All right. I don't disagree. There are plenty of, I've seen this plenty of times, particularly with channels or Facebook, any social media really, where former friends have become something else.
Yeah.
I've experienced a little bit of that myself. Glenn, what does loyalty mean to you?
It's a good question. Whoever wrote that?
Start right out with the big one.
That's right. It is. I'm just trying to boil it down to what does it mean, like between two people. I think maybe that each behaves action-wise that demonstrates mutual respect. I can't see how there can be loyalty without that respect part.
Right.
I mean, we all know that if you want credit card discounts, you're loyal to the, Citibank or somebody. Who cares a crap? That's only loyalty because what you can get.
Oh yeah, true.
But you full well know that you're getting screwed over anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of trying to put that to one side. But I think that mutual respect aspect is important to loyalty. Is critical, and I think that's a basis for it.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Do you think it should? So you think it should go both ways?
Well, I think for loyalty to be authentic, it has to go both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Between people.
Yeah. Oh no, not necessarily. I've had friends and people before that I've been loyal to a fault, and they haven't been loyal to me.
Yeah, but I said to be authentic.
Should.
Oh, okay. Yeah, should be both ways.
I agree 100%, Jen, that you can be loyal to someone and they can crap all over you from a great height.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From a great height.
We see that every day.
Yeah.
But now the question is why?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good question. Why?
All right. Next question. Where do you believe your general attitude towards loyalty has emanated? Where does it come from? Whatever you believe loyalty is, where'd you get it? Where'd you get your idea of loyalty?
I think family.
Yeah.
Also, church.
Yep.
I think, I don't think the Bible used the word loyalty per se.
Yeah.
But when you learn about the 10 Commandments and then about the New Covenant and hear about Jesus' life and how he treated people.
Yeah.
I even see, in a sense, him not kicking Judas out of the dinner they were having. To me, that kind of feels like loyalty that Jesus had to Judas, in a sense.
Sure.
That he wasn't getting in return. So, stories like that teach us about loyalty. Because, when you think about going to school as a kid, at least here in the U.S., you don't think about classic, children's books that talk about loyalty. It's not really in the title, but it's taught, through different types of words and different stories.
Yep.
So that's one place I think we get it.
I thought of friendship.
Oh, yeah.
From a young kid, I didn't say, "Hey, are you going to be loyal to me?"
Yeah.
But that's what you expect. You expect your buddy to stick up for you and be there for you and all of that. I don't know if women have that same thing or females have that same thing, but I feel like for males, being loyal to your friend, having a close friend. There's a joke about, would you help me bury a dead body? To determine what kind of loyal friend they actually are. Are they that kind of friend that would help you do that? There's lots of ethical arguments you could have.
Oh man, weekend at Bernie's. That's loyalty right there.
Yeah, exactly. Emanated from friends. I'm going to say friends, but all the things that Jen mentioned. I'm trying to figure out if the Bible does it too. I know churches do. I'll have to think about that more. What do you think, Naz? Where do you believe your general attitude towards loyalty has emanated?
That comes from God. That comes from the words of Jesus. That comes from Scripture. If you are loyal to God, if you're loving Him and obeying His commandments, then you are going to be honest. You are going to act out of love and compassion and forgiveness and mercy. You are going to treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where loyalty begins, is your relationship with God. Your own spiritual walk, I think, is the foundation of how you treat other people.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
I just looked up Proverbs 3:3, and it says, "Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart." And when I read that and I think of the word loyalty, it really ministers to me, this particular scripture, in the light of a lot of things, but loyalty being what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because when I think about, for instance, my marriage to you, the thought of, if there were a tablet in my heart that could have something etched in it, it would be my loyalty and my love to you as my husband. And when you think about friends and family, the people that you hold dear to you in your life, that just seems to me in this word image to be exactly that, loyalty.
Yeah.
And it being written on your heart.
Beautiful. I love that, Jen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Glenn, where do you believe your general attitude towards loyalty has emanated?
Generally, initially role modelled from family, parents.
Okay.
And then life experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Exposure to circumstances that clarify what loyalty actually represents.
Yeah.
Particularly when you are loyal and you get crapped on.
Yep.
But that is a very interesting one, because then you have the choice to make. Does that turn you off? A bit like love, being scorned.
Yeah.
does it turn you off, or does it not affect you in the sense that you be reluctant to be loyal in the future?
Yeah.
I think part of that comes maybe that there is a throwback to what you'd been role modelled. I'm thinking, well, not everyone's going to crap on you, are they?
No. Well, I hope not. No.
So,
a lot of people have, but
that's life.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
Yeah. I don't think loyalty has anything to do with what someone else does. It's whether you're loyal or not. And then I like what you said, Glenn. Sometimes you may have to make a decision to not be loyal in the sense of not being around a person, but if they ever needed you, you would be there for them because that's who you are.
Yeah, I think that's a major point. Just because someone has done the dirty on you doesn't mean that you have to exhibit to them what they've done to you.
Yeah, that's the gold of it right there. I believe that's what Jesus talks about doing, not repaying evil for evil, and not taking out revenge, not just because dig two graves, because it's going to hurt you. It is, but because you're not that type of person. You don't wish to hurt anyone. You don't wish to take advantage of anyone. You wish to be available to people who need it. And that's what I strive for.
Maybe it comes down to levels there are different levels of loyalty. I'm just throwing that up. Maybe there are the ones that from a different level that you can still be loyal but not compromise and find a balance there.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. All right, I think everyone answered this one. So we're going to move on to, do you consider yourself a loyal person? And if so, why? And I'll go first on this one. I really, really do consider myself a loyal person. I think in the past I've been perhaps too loyal for too long. Back then I probably would, not probably, I know I would have, if you'd asked me the same question, I would have said, what's the point of loyalty? Especially to some people, because I had been hurt so much. But if it really got down to the point, I would say that I wish to continue to be a loyal person, regardless of what anyone else does. And that's hard. It's not always easy to do, especially when you've been hurt by so many people. I do consider myself loyal. I consider myself someone, as much as possible, is there for people. It's the way I described what I thought loyalty meant to me. I have to be those things for others. I mean, how can you expect someone to be loyal to you if you're not loyal to them? And I do have a couple loyal friends, and certainly I feel like I'm a loyal person to Jen, as she said. I would never do anything to hurt her willingly. Whatever we go through, I know that I'm going to be there. To me, that's loyalty, and I feel like I have that as part of who I am. And I hope it only grows stronger. I hope there's more people I can learn how to be loyal to, regardless of what they do. It's a tough ask, though, in some certain circumstances. Who would like to go next?
What was the question again?
Do you consider yourself a loyal person? And if so, why?
I was going to say, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. Do you consider yourself a loyal person? And if so, why?
I would say yes. Why? Because. Because I think about other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big key in being loyal. When Marisa brought up the scripture, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, that's on my mind a lot.
Yeah.
Not that I'm, running around with negative thoughts, wanting to bop people over the head and think, well, would I like that?
Yeah.
But life, life happens. Yeah. People say things sometimes, whether they're having a bad day or just trying to be mean.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that I consider people, and it's kind of interesting because my whole life, I think I've been, I don't know if this is possible, but being overly considerate.
Sure.
Like thinking too much about what other people think or would feel with this, that, or the other. And just, it was out of whack because I wasn't thinking about myself at all.
Right.
How something was affecting me or how somebody's treatment was affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's been this really nice pendulum that has sort of slowed down to hang out in the middle.
Sure
to
has.
where it's balanced. You know, you're being considerate of other people, but you're also considering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a nice balance. But I think consideration for me is one of the reasons I'm loyal, that I find myself to be loyal. It's because I consider other people.
Yep. And considering yourself, honestly, I feel this way. Considering yourself first opens yourself up to being able to be considerate of other people more.
That's true, because even with the do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you have to kind of gauge how something would feel if it was done to you, and consider that before you do or say something.
Right.
So it's right in there.
It's right in there. That's right.
It's right in there.
Right in there. Nez, what do you think? Do you consider yourself a loyal person? And if so, why?
Yes, I do, but it didn't happen overnight. I had to also learn from experience, know what it's like to behave in a disloyal fashion and to have disloyalty displayed towards me. That's not a fun scene any way you slice it. And the desire to truly treat other people the way I wish to be treated. Even if you're just going to walk away from me and be silent, that's better than some other things I can think of. So yes, I believe now at this age, I am much more comfortable with saying I have that quality of loyalty. And I really am trying to perfect that. I'm trying to do better. Sometimes it's not easy, but I'm trying. I'm trying to do a little better each day. So yes.
I think you're very loyal. I think
Yeah,
Jen's very loyal as well.
Not Glenn, but the rest of us.
Well, let's see what Glenn says. Do you consider yourself a loyal person, and if so, why?
I think Jen should keep quiet.
Shut up.
Shut up, Jen.
That was great.
Yeah, I think I've always been that way. I think, if I look back, I can't find a circumstance where I've ever been disloyal. Probably a bit like Cripps, probably to the point of overdose at times. But I think in the later years, it's been clarified to me more with that trust, where I've said that I tend to trust people before, and they have to show me that a reason why I would distrust them, which is a reverse to a lot of how a lot of people see it. Yeah. So I think that is a point of law that sort of does sort of confirm, etc. But the ultimate test, of course, of loyalty is how many people would you trust with your life.
Not many.
Well, that's right. How many people could rattle off a list of more than the fingers on one hand?
I can't.
No,
I can't.
It's the big question.
Yeah. To be honest, your stance is a little bit something that I aspire to. I would love to be in that place where you let people be themselves and not be braced for some kind of impact, something they're going to do to me. Just be totally open. And I would love that. I think I'm getting more toward that than I was, for sure. But we're about to dig into that probably a little bit more with this next set of questions. So everyone answered the last one, correct?
Nez didn't, I don't think.
Yeah, she's
yes,
a
I
loyal
did.
person. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's move forward. So now the more personal aspect. So this is the first one. Can you identify circumstances where your emotionally based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Emotionally based loyalty. Circumstances.
Could Glenn expound on that? What he means by that?
Sure.
Emotional based loyalty?
Sure. Something that is really, internally has caused you disquiet, that's really sort of put your emotions in turmoil, and you had to make a decision
on whether or not to be loyal.
Am I going to stay with the situation, or am I going to leave? Now we know
gosh.
that regardless
You have the perfect one.
I know what's coming with Jen, but I'm just saying you can imagine that the thing with this is that there appears to be in all of these there's trauma and stress both ways.
Yeah, there is.
But once you make the decision, I think that's when only then can that come off. You can how dwelling on this sort of stuff really kills you.
Yep.
So
let's see. I'm gonna jump in.
Jump in.
Deep. I'm gonna jump in dimples deep. So what I think to be somewhat over loyalty with my ex kept me there for a really long time when everything else that one could think of that would keep you in a marriage was gone for a while. And I literally came to a crossroad where I just was like, I'm either going to die if I stay, or I need to leave for my own safety and well-being, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, psychologically. So that was a circumstance I will identify. It was that emotionally based loyalty was definitely challenged. And I had to make a change. But there was a couple times before that time that I came to it was a crossroads sort of, but it wasn't like that last one, It wasn't as bold. It's just more wispy.
Wispy is a good word. Thank you, Jen, for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, obviously, that you didn't stay in that situation.
Same.
Let's see. I was thinking about this while Jen was talking, and most of mine have come from other people. I've talked about this before, but one of what I thought was a close friendship at the time, I really got betrayed, and that person wasn't loyal at all. I mean, to the point of becoming cold, not just he wasn't a little bit loyal, just not loyal at all. I haven't talked to the guy in probably 30 some odd years, but this bothered me emotionally for a long time. And it was because I was loyal to him. In fact, I'd gotten to a point a couple of years before this happened where I was going to break off the friendship because it was just too stressful. And he had done a lot of things that I didn't like. And I'd had a conversation with him and saying, look, I can't do it anymore. And he begged me not to walk away from our friendship. And I gave in. And then a couple of years later, he walked away from it on his own. And I carried that weight around with me for a very long time, for years, because this friendship hadn't been what I thought it was. And I felt hurt. I felt angry. I felt betrayed. And then after time, I got over it. And I benefited from that having happened to me because there would be bigger betrayals to come. And I needed to be strong enough to face them. If that hadn't happened, I think my first marriage would have been way more devastating when that didn't work. I'm glad it didn't work at this point, but back then there was no loyalty in my mind with the other person, and it was very hurtful, but because of the other thing, I believe because of the other friendship situation, that being definitely a challenge, it prepared me for this to happen.
Yeah.
So that's mine. And I did make a change. For a while, it was staying away from other people altogether, pretty much, except for online. I had no new relationships in my life after that happened. While, some of it makes sense because I was in a grieving period, but that stretched out a little longer than it needed to. Cordial and friendly to everyone I met, but just nothing deep. I just didn't want to risk it.
Yeah.
So the biggest change I made was what I said earlier of I'm not going to base how I am as a person on what other people have done to me.
Yeah.
I need to be who I am regardless. And that relates to loyalty as well. I'm going to be loyal to people, whether they're loyal to me or not. And that's tough. It's a challenge for sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
I went on long enough. Who'd like to take it next? Can you identify circumstances where your emotionally based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put the opposing counter side to what Jen said, only for that reason, because it does present the other side of a story.
Sure.
Okay. It's once again, these marriages are pretty tough going at times if you get it wrong, as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I played the loyalty card in the first marriage to excess. Like, I mean, regardless of what was happening to me, I just sort of brushed off the crap.
Yeah.
And said, I'm staying. It was, where did I get these ideas from, man? Jeez. Talk about an idiot. But anyway, regardless, it's a big lesson. I'm going to be loyal no matter what. But to tell you the truth, I was going to Oblivion, and it wasn't beautiful.
Right.
By staying, by just having the fixated idea that I'm a loyal person and I'm going to stick it out. It's got to be one of the most misguided thoughts on ideas that I'd ever come across, that I'd ever done.
Yeah.
Sure.
I look back in retrospect and I think, how did I do that? But then when I look at it closer, it's very obvious why I did it.
Yeah.
So did I change? Well, yeah, I sure did, because I realised after that what is the point of sending yourself down to the pit?
Right.
When you've got children, you've got other people around you, you've got a life. Why destroy it?
Yeah.
Because I know I was stripping the weight off. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. You know, you've all been through it. You know what it's like. It's horrific. It's just so emotionally debilitating and distressing to experience. If you haven't been through it, think yourself lucky. Fortunate.
Yes.
Because it's heavy going and it's with you 24/7. It's not, you don't get a break.
No.
From it. So
no.
Yeah, I realised that I had to be real. I think be truthful to myself.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that if something is heading that way, I have the responsibility to myself to stop it.
Yes.
And if that means I have to extricate myself, so be it.
Yep.
And I think that's just been solidified over time with more experience.
Yeah. Gets easier.
It does get easier. It does get easier, and it gets clearer. I think you see the pictures much more in front of you than you did before. Because because you're ready to face up. I think you're not in denial anymore.
No.
You force yourself to face it, and you can move on. So there you go. I was headed down, absolutely certain.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I may not have got up. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I just real quick. I went back to that first friendship, and I thought that incident that happened if I was who I was now back then, I would have walked away and not done anything. I mean, I would have gotten over it. Of course, that's with hindsight or foresight at that point. But I still would have to choose myself in that relationship, because that's obviously, to even get to that point in the first place, there were things that had happened that were causing struggle for me. And I feel like I made a good solid choice, but I didn't stay with it. And now I would stay with it. If a friendship came, or any relationship came to that point, I do feel like if I needed to walk away from it, I would, even though that's not my first choice. My first choice is to stick it out. And with the person that's willing to stick it out, I would. I really would. I don't think I can change that. I think that's ingrained in me.
Yeah.
But my willingness has to be strong, regardless of what someone else is doing. But sometimes you have to be loyal. I go back to this sentence above. In another sense, perhaps that means there are decisions to be made when loyalty to self feels compromised. So the first person I believe you have to be loyal to is you. And then that allows you to be loyal towards other people. And that's sort of backwards, I'm sure, within Christianity, the way that they talk about others first, Jesus first, others second, you last. And I think they have that backwards.
Probably. I think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think a big part of this walking away is that you do it with dignity, and revenge does not form part of the equation. I think that dignity, if you can hold your head high, that it's amazing how quickly you can get back on an even keel and move forward. But you carry that other part with you. That's oblivion in itself.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So even when you're out of a situation, you can still destroy yourself.
You sure can. And that is a choice. In my first marriage, I left with my head held high. I was sad, obviously. But I didn't take revenge, and I'm so glad I didn't. I was advised by a few friends to do that. Not physically, not hurt her like that, but shut the power off and everything in my name and all that. And I didn't do that. And I'm grateful. So I love Glenn's point. If you have to do it with dignity and have pride in yourself, and know that you made the best possible decision that you could make in that situation.
Yep.
Nez, you're last on this one. Can you identify circumstances where your emotionally based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change?
Again, I'm going to come at this from something I have a lot of experience in, and that's being on YouTube and social media. Okay. When I've discovered some disloyalty here fairly recently, and it was against some of people that I love and care about and consider close friends. They were being trashed in another place on the tubes, and certain people were also there watching or participating or being entertained by it, what have you. That made me go, I don't want to support somebody who is engaging in or being entertained by this behavior. So I stopped supporting those people involved with that particular behavior. And I didn't look back. I have no desire to, and that tells me I wasn't, and I wasn't close friends with these people I had to not support anymore. They were just occasional people I would see, and one of them maybe I had to interact with on another place on YouTube. It wasn't, like a working friendship or anything like that. But if it wasn't a big loss for me to walk away from that, it broke my heart to find out that, I thought these people were okay with these friends of mine. Apparently they're not. Okay, well, bye. So yeah. I made the change. I walked away. I didn't have to go on a smear campaign or anything like that. I just cut the ties and kept on a trucking.
It's a solid choice.
It's really the best way I could think of to deal with it. And I've had to do this a few times.
Yeah, my mom called it getting in the sandbox. I've heard other people use that term, and I've used it myself since then. You don't have to get in the sandbox with someone.
No,
you don't have to sling mud. You don't have to, get revenge. You don't have to make sure they feel like you felt. It's just not worth it. And you're better than that. I hope I'm better than that. And I've had a few times when I could have done that, and I'm glad that I didn't. I don't need a trophy or anything. That's the way you should be. To me, that's being a human. To me, there are expectations for people, and it should be common sense to not act certain ways. Anyway. Before we move forward, I want to say hello to Burnt Flowers Fallen. It's a long time coming. You've been here for a while, but thank you and welcome.
Hey, Burnt.
And Golgotha, my friend.
Oh, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, Golgotha has been around True Story Live for a long time, and also another channel. I saw him over there back in the day. I haven't been over there in a while, but Talking Doctrine. Yeah, that's how long Golgotha's been around. It's good to see you. All right. Let's see. Everyone answered that first one, I think. So we'll move on to the second one. Can you identify circumstances where your value-based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? And I'll read it again, but before I can't wait to get to the next one.
I think you missed one.
Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Oh, spiritually based. I did miss one. Thank you. I thought that was the next one, and I made a mistake. Can you identify circumstances where your spirituality, this is the one, based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Spiritually based loyalty. I'm going to save mine because I'll probably go on longer than everybody else. So who wants to take it first?
I just was the first thing that popped to my mind, which many followed after it, but was the church I got married in with my first marriage.
Right.
Some things really hit the fan within the leadership.
Yeah.
And it was like a bomb went off. It was really sad and upsetting. But spiritually speaking, just where I stood, the way people were treating each other and the way it all kind of blew up, I just couldn't, for my own spiritual well-being, stay. That's how I felt at the time. And so I did leave. After a while of staying out of loyalty spiritually, it just was getting not okay. So I decided to leave. And instead of going into details and stuff, I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. So I'm going to keep it short.
Okay. Oh no, you've talked about that before, and that was a horrible situation to have to go through. It's difficult in a church setting, especially because you would think that would be the place where you could go to find loyal friends, other people within the church, and not to mention the leadership. Nez, do you want to go next on this one?
I'll just go real quick. And, I don't really see a hard line definition between emotional and spiritual. I think if you're going to be loyal, that's at the core of who you are spiritually.
Yeah.
How you are in your spiritual walk is how you're going to treat other people. And that's how you're going to measure how people treat you. So I'm going to stick with the scenario of doing what I had to do on social media. It was not just an emotional choice. It was a spiritual one. I had to cut ties with things that were not good and walk away.
Yeah.
And I chose the loyalty and the love of my friends that I was doing that for. Yeah. And that was very much a spiritual as well as an emotional decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hi to Bert and hi to Bobby. Boy, talk about the queen of loyalty has entered the building. Over 40 years, ladies and gentlemen, and she hasn't left me yet.
Yeah. And Brenda. Brenda Z.
Brenda.
I called her Brensa. I obviously mistyped it. Brensa. Brensa. Great. Glenn, do you want to go next?
Yeah, although my definition of spiritual is different from you guys.
Sure.
I would say that the only time I would have challenged it is myself. So I've never been in a position that I've had to make a change because it's a within thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. I've got to read the question over with that in mind.
Okay, there you
go.
I'll
like
give
how
you
challenge my perspective.
I'll give you another chance when I'm done and see if you have more to say. So for me, the biggest thing that happened, I've already talked about so often, was the thing at PTL. So I won't go all back into that, but that was a big deal. And I'm glad it happened, as I've said in the past, because it disconnected me. It started to disconnect a little bit from the organized part of religion. And I don't mean about being a believer, but certainly being in a group of people who claim to be believers and being hip deep in that whole mess. And then just throughout my life, I have watched and kind of, partially from being in it and partially on the sidelines a lot of the time, but watching people bite each other and say horrible things. And a lot of it comes on YouTube, and Nez has already touched on that. But within the Christian world of how so-called Christians treat other so-called Christians, and certainly atheists and people that don't believe, it's almost expected that they're going to treat them like that. And this should be the most loving group of people on the face of the earth, based on what the Bible says and based on what's preached a lot of times. I mean, they preach hate too. I mean, that is out there. But in general, the idea of what Christianity should be, and that was the biggest well for my spirituality. And I have come to have it deepen, and I'm in a place where I'm not trying to base my spirituality on some organization in any way. Not to just say I'm a Christian, but having it be the way I live, not just the way I say I live, and not just the way I think, but the way I live. And so my loyalty toward quote unquote Christianity in general has been challenged, and I had to walk away from the institution and from just assuming that anyone that calls themselves a Christian is exactly that. It doesn't go by my basis, doesn't go by my judgment. It goes by Scripture, or nothing. So, yes, I made a change, and it was one of the best changes I've ever made. So I still have a spiritual belief system. It just it's not based on what most churches say or what most people say. It's based on my relationship with God and what He says, and a lot of what He says in His Word. That's mine. So I didn't go on too long, I don't think. I'm going to check the chat.
No, you didn't.
Thanks. I think we've said hello, Bobby. Bobby, yep. Okay. Everyone answered that one. Next one. Can you identify circumstances where your values-based loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change?
Values. I'm still thinking.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here real quick. Again, that's the same as the previous two for me. My emotional, my spiritual, and my values were questioned. I cut the ties. End of story. I chose love, loyalty, and friendship. You bet.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Values are. Go ahead, Jen.
I just was looking up the definition of value. The regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something.
Oh, wonderful. Values based.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that.
Why don't you go first, Glenn? Maybe everyone will get an idea.
Sure. Okay. The first, I always try to say the first thing that comes into my head. I can remember I was part of a sporting team, and there might have been touch football or whatever. Anyway, there would have been a number of. Well, we had just hypothetical. Just say there was a team of 10 people on the field, and there might have been another 5 or 6 people, like in interchange, in sports, whatever.
Sure.
When we're all getting busted pretty fast, and I remember that there was some people there, and there was a guy that made a mistake, and like everybody does, how it is, you drop the ball or whatever, and the person that was the captain said, "Get off the field," and to me, that was incredibly disloyal to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm out of here," and I left.
Yeah.
I said, "I'm not being part of this kind of stuff. This is a team.
Yeah.
There's loyalty here. You encourage people. You don't downtrod them for making mistakes."
Right.
Yeah. So I said, "No, I'm not." So I felt I was very loyal to that team, but I felt that my values were compromised, and I didn't go back. I just left. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is the church that my first wife and I went to when we were trying to be part of a smaller group. I forget what they called it, but smaller groups, like people that you get to know within the church, and you might do Bible studies, you might go out to lunch, whatever, a smaller group. And they just never responded. Kept putting in applications, talking to people and all of that. And that's the closest thing I can think of that I would have been loyal to that church. I wanted to be. I was applying to be part of a smaller group so I can get to know people. I mean, it was a choice on my part. And I didn't like how I was being treated and had to walk away. But I'm not sure that fits. Well, I guess it does. I would have been loyal, and the challenge of not being accepted, I think, for whatever reason, I walk away from it. I would never treat other people like that, especially if someone was showing an interest. I think that should have been common sense to respond to the request. You would think that's what a church does, but that's not what happened. So I didn't feel very welcome. Let's see. Jen, did you want to say anything more about?
I think this would fall under it. I had a friend in high school, the beginning of high school, who was kind of your mean girl type.
Yeah.
And she lived in my neighborhood, and I ended up just having to walk away from the friend group with her because of her own bullying toward other girls.
Oh, there you go.
And it was a little bit difficult because I had a couple of closer friends that were in that group as well. So kind of had to distance myself from them, but it ended up working out okay because when they would hang out with her, I just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But then I'd still hang out with them outside of that. And they weren't like her. I don't understand why there was a couple of girls in the group that were like her, but a few of the other ones just kind of went along to get along.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't do it. It just is an awful thing to witness people being bullied. It's just not good, especially girls. And I'll admit, I was such a wuss back then. You know, I didn't laugh and like join in, but I would stand there just feeling the shame.
Yeah.
You know, shame of my friend acting like this when I kind of grew up with her, and then shame for the people that she was picking on. It just was awful.
Well, that's a really good example.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
I still can't.
Values.
Yeah. You have strong values, and that happens to me sometimes.
I have such strong values that when Jason and I go to the grocery store, he'll like pick off a grape from a bunch of grapes to see if they're sweet. And I like freak out. I'm like, dude, that's stealing. Or when you like test the malt balls, I'm like, babe, what are you doing?
That's intentional. I have to
oh
test
man,
the malt balls.
rules.
Well, at least it's not as bad as some people who will just get a bag of chips and just eat the chips while they're shopping. You know, just get it off the rack. You know.
Oh, as long as they pay for it, though, right? Is that okay?
Well, when I did that with the malt balls, I usually bought a bag of them.
Oh, that's true. But did you eat it out of the bag you were purchased? See, that stuff gets weighed.
I bought it. No, once
it gets weighed. Oh, okay. Once you bought it.
Once I bought it, or once I walked away from the malt ball station, I would wrap it up, and I might have taken one or two for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it all evens out, but that's another show. I think they take plenty from me. It's a rationalization, so live with it.
Oh, geez. Glenn said mothballs. MALT.
Malt balls.
That would be disgusting. Those things smell so bad.
You're not supposed to eat
Oh my
balls.
Gosh. Ugh.
Hey,
like taste it in my mouth.
Christ is the truth is in the chat. Welcome, my friend. We're glad you're here. Thank you. Okay, everyone answered the values-based one? I think so. All right. Next one, can you identify any other circumstances where your loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change? Anyone's have any other loyalty-based? I can talk real quick about work.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead. No.
I just was going to say real quick, we could have felt, this might be a dumb example, but you know, we were at the apartment for 3 years.
Oh yeah.
See, I'm the type that would actually feel a little bit of loyalty toward an apartment complex. Like, you know, we saw all of our neighbors like moved. And I felt kind of bad that like, I was like, we're leaving. But
3 years. My gosh, you put in 3 years in a place.
All right, old man.
Oh man. What? How do you turn this on me? I'm playing off your answer.
I know. I'm so bad. I'm sorry. My bad. I take it back.
No, you can't.
I will remain loyal.
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Anyway, but you were about to say an example, I think, before I interrupted. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say work. There have been jobs. My dad. Okay, so here's a perfect example. I know he's my dad, but I worked for my dad since I was 14, cleaning up construction garbage or trash, you know, dirt and dust and, you know, wood slivers and things like that, you know, from the sawdust, you know, cleaning up sawdust and putting it in the trash can, things like that. And then later I did trim work, and I did a lot, and I'm really good at it. I learned a trade, which I still occasionally use, and I'll always have that, and I'm grateful. But I would move away because I needed to move away from my family from time to time, and I would do well doing other jobs that had nothing to do with my family or my dad. And he would call and say, "Oh, I really could use some help," and I would pick up everything and move and go work for my dad again. And it got to the point where my mom would say, "Well, don't work for your dad." She didn't want me to work for him. And I kept doing it over and over and over again. And things are fine now. Like I I can occasionally do a job for him or with him and help him. He's older, and most times when he asks me to do something, it's crown molding, which I enjoy. So I can do that now, but I was too loyal to my dad when it came to that, where I set myself aside, my own wants, needs, and desires. Now, the reason wasn't for work. The reason was because I wanted to prove to my family, and I've talked about that before, but this is the way that it happened for me as far as loyalty is concerned. That's the way I looked at it. As my dad said he needed help, I'm going to help him. So I'm being loyal. Lots of other reasons behind it, but that was one of them. And I did change. I went to school back in 2004 to get a degree. So I would quit going back to him. And so that was the last time leading up to going to school that I went back to work for my dad. Well, the other reason was because he paid well. I mean, relatively compared to other jobs that were out there. So that was another reason. So loyalty to being paid better too. Can you identify any other circumstance where your loyalty has been challenged? And if so, did you stay with the situation or make a change now? So do you want to add anything else?
I really can't add anything to what I've already said about the particular scenario I've been
So you
sharing.
didn't think of anything new, the loyalty, any new circumstances that hadn't been mentioned, and that's okay.
No, it was pretty cut and dried. So
Gotcha. What about you, Glenn? Any other loyalty things?
Absolutely, loyalty to the cat.
That's important.
The kitty cat.
And being challenging, demanding, one-way street, narcissism. But Sid Sandra said, well, if it's a choice, who goes? Glenn, you're out of here. So I thought, okay, the cat better stay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't make a change.
Does she get on with the cat?
Oh, he's seriously? Now we're talking, no joke. He is a beautiful cat, a very loving, generous, kind cat towards Sandra. He knows when she's in pain, he'll go sit with her.
Oh,
he's
wow.
fantastic for Sandra. He's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
So there you go. I mean,
that's beautiful. I'm glad you shared that.
It's lovely. It really is. And she loves him desperately.
All right.
You couldn't ask for more.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Welcome to Dana, the Conscious Evolution channel.
Hey, Dana.
Friend. Glad that you're here. All right. We're getting up there, back up to 8 now. We had a slow start, but we're rolling up there with people in the chat. Thanks, guys, for coming, everyone. All right. Now let's look at some of our attitudes that influence loyalty in ourselves and others. Do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how? Right up your alley, Jen, if you want to go first.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Certainly. Or if you want me to go first, I will. But do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how?
Support and appreciation just in general?
You could have it as far as, loyalty. And then this is attitudes.
Oh, in ourselves. Okay.
In ourselves and others.
Gotcha. Sorry, I missed that first part.
Do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how?
Yeah, just to add, excuse me, that these are all elements of loyalty.
Yeah.
Within ourselves, like toward ourselves and others.
However you discern it, it's up to you.
Okay. I would say yes. I've always been pretty good at supporting people, and obviously when I was a teen, that probably wasn't the story back then, but I was when I was a kid and in my younger years and growing into adulthood. It was more directed outward. Mm-hmm. And so it hasn't been up until the last couple of years that I've been able to turn that inward. Yeah. To learn how to support myself and appreciate, who I am as a person.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I think having some lack of it from the people around me growing up, I've been realizing how much more important it is to really pour into the people around you, to show your appreciation, to support them in what they're doing, from whether it's like a business venture or something creative, to if someone's struggling with something in their family or relationship, and listening and validating what they're feeling, going through.
Wonderful.
Being a sounding board if they need it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely feel supported and appreciated by you in so many ways. So you do it now.
Yay!
were you there for your friends when you were a teenager? I mean, if they had needed you for something, don't you think you would have been there for them?
I was thinking more of family oriented.
Okay.
But friends, I definitely was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with my family too, don't get me wrong. It's just I was a little more, the typical brooding teenager holed up in our room.
Sure.
Majority of the time.
Sure. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
I definitely, as far as loyalty is concerned, do show support and appreciation to other people. And I think we touched a little bit about how that can be imbalanced, and it certainly was for me from time to time. And toward myself, I think there's some supportive things that I've always done for myself, and some appreciation for certain aspects of who I am as a person. It's not like I've been totally void of any kind of self-appreciation or self-support. But I would say it's stronger now than it ever has been. I feel like I'm more supportive of myself and more appreciative of myself. It helps to be working, a full-time job and be contributing. And it's hard to be in that other place where you don't have a job and you don't know what you're going to do. And that's just financial, but it goes deeper than that for me. I'm in a marriage now. As I've said to Jen in the past, if I was on my own, if I got in a little tight spot, it was just me that was in the tight spot. I would handle it myself. And I put myself in some of those spots, not very often. Sometimes it's outward things. So I don't stay in a place that's not supporting myself or appreciating myself, but I've been there, and it's not a fun place to be, and I'm not there now.
Yeah.
So I just hope that continues to get better. I hope that I don't sacrifice my loyalty to myself and have that be compromised anymore. I don't think anyone should do that.
Nope.
How about you, Naz? Do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how? And above that question, it says, now let's look at some of our attitudes and influence loyalty in ourselves and others.
Again, I'm going to come at this from social media experience and YouTube. I like to show support to people, and if you want support, you got to give support. And I think that's true on and off the tubes and in real life, and not just the internet. But I try to show support at least on social media to be there. You can't be there for everybody's everything. That's a given.
Yeah.
But to consistently be there, to give a thumbs up, to give some watch time, to make a comment that's meaningful, to share something out, sometimes to participate in what other people have going on. Like some people do challenges, and sometimes I'll participate in that. Just be interactive and accessible.
Sure.
People want to reach out to you, let them. You don't have, depending on who, not everybody who reaches out is somebody you want reaching towards you, but,
right.
have a bit of discernment. But, for the most part, being accessible and being willing to interact with people has really gone a long way. And I try to do that in real life as well. Not so much because I kind of keep to myself out here in the world, but particularly, when it comes to YouTube and social media.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Naz.
Glenn, do you show support and appreciation? If yes, how?
I believe so. I'd sort of make an overriding comment here. I don't think I ever thought about this stuff much until I came to write shows for TSL.
Right. I wouldn't imagine.
No, but I realised just going through that process of doing it really does put a lot of things that sit in the background generally
I agree.
up at the forefront of your mind.
I agree. That's why when we get to the end of the broadcast and we talk about how the show has been, useful to us and why we do it, I'm looking forward to tying some of this stuff in because I definitely feel that.
So if yes, how will I definitely try, but I try to do it with integrity and honesty,
Yeah.
and try to put myself in the position of thinking, well, there's no point being critical, so or taking all the negatives out of what people may have done or not done. So offer encouragement.
Yeah.
Even if it's encouragement to get better or whatever, in a way that doesn't compromise you,
Right.
but it and is truthful, but it is supportive, and it doesn't send the person away thinking that somehow that they're lesser than you are, or you're trying to make them feel less than you are.
Right.
So that's how. Just be thoughtful generally.
Absolutely. I've been around critical people so much that now it's like a jerk. It's like a reaction before it comes sometimes. I'm like waiting for the critical comment to be made. It's a lot better now. But anyway, do you demonstrate empathy? Wait, did everyone answer the first one? Jen, did you answer? Show support and appreciation.
I did.
Yeah, I think
I did.
Do you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how? Empathy. I'll go first on this. Absolutely. I think I'm more empathetic again. I feel like I was when I was younger, and then I wasn't for a while, or at least it wasn't practiced as much just because I was in isolation. I mean, if someone had come into my life, there was empathy toward my grandma. I took care of her for 2.5 years. And I cared whether she was uncomfortable or whether she needed food. And part of that should be, again, common sense. You decide to take care of your grandma, you better do it. But, I didn't leave her down there to rot in the room. I would, do puzzles with her. And we spent considerable time together. And that was a choice. And when she did feel bad, if I could make it better, I tried to. And I honestly cared about what she needed. And I feel that way toward my friends and family. If there's anything I can do to make things better, I do, because I care about how they feel. I think that's always been a part of me. And the more I have empathy toward myself, this is what I'm feeling happening now as we speak, is being more empathetic toward myself allows me to be able to focus more on other people and how they feel. Again, there's a balance, not to the point where it wrecks me, but to the point is I can do as much as I can to help someone if they need it. It's important. Okay. Who wants to go next? Do you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how? How do I demonstrate it? I didn't answer that really. Just by being there for people and trying to meet their needs. I guess I did. Never mind. Jen, do you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how?
Did you say Glenn or Jen?
Jen, sorry. Jen, do you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how?
I'd say yes. Just being a good listener, and I don't choose to have empathy. It just happens. If somebody's going through something hard, through listening and just hearing about their circumstances, I feel for them. I very much, that's a terrible sentence. I have an easy time feeling what something could potentially feel for somebody.
Oh yeah.
We've been watching this show Suits. I get so stressed out.
Yeah.
It's like I
You
empathize
are
with the
highly
characters.
empathetic.
Like,
Don't
yeah.
even pretend, Jen. You are highly empathetic.
I think sometimes to a detriment, but I would rather be this empathic than the opposite and just have no empathy for sure.
I would too.
Yeah.
If I was as sensitive as you are, I would much rather have that than the alternative for sure.
And I'm going to keep it short because my throat's really hurting me.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm not going to have long answers. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, that's understandable. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. Nez, you demonstrate empathy? If yes, how?
I try to, and I think part of it is innate to being empathic, and sometimes you kind of got to work at it. I think it's important to bear in mind when somebody's going through something, even if the specific details of their experience are relative to their particular experience, there's still emotions and situations that you can find that you can relate to. Everybody's lost a loved one. Everybody has lost something of theirs they couldn't find, car keys, money, you name it.
Yeah.
Basically any human experience that is going to weigh on someone, you can find a way to relate to that. Yeah. In Galatians, it says, Galatians 6:2, bear one another's burdens and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. Mm-hmm. So I think that calls us to find a way to relate to other people's pain.
Yep.
Because there's nothing that we've gone through that Jesus doesn't know about and he hasn't experienced. No, and in that same turn, we can relate to other people's pain with the pain that we've gone through. And I think one of the reasons we have the pain is not just to learn and grow and become stronger and better people, but part of that is to help one another and to be there for one another, to comfort one another.
Amen. Wonderful. Thank you. We have an old friend in the chat. So we had Golgotha, and now we have Melted Zone as well as Brenda.
Melted Zone.
Brenda said we got the old
old crew.
Yeah, the old crew melting back. Melted Zone has actually been a panel member. Back in the day, we used to have sometimes 6 panel members on at the same time. We were really laying it on thick back then. And Melted Zone was on a couple times, and I've also been over there with him on Talking Doctrine and a couple of other channels. So it's good to see you, Melted Zone. Glad that you're here. You're welcome anytime. I like Melted Zone a lot. I hope you're doing well. We catch up.
Trips, may I please interject for just a moment? Perhaps now that you have some of your old peeps here, would you like to put forth the question that we've had for people regarding TSL? And hello, Melted Zone. Nice to meet you.
Good idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're almost to it. Do we want to finish up the last 2 questions, or you want to dive into that real quick and then go back to the questions?
That's completely up to you. I just thought, hey, you've got some people here that haven't heard this before. So,
yeah, well, hopefully, guys, if you can hang around for 20 more minutes, we're going to talk about something that's very important for TSL moving forward. So if you would hang around that long, it would be a great favor if you would do that. Thank you. Okie Grower just popped in. Welcome, Okie Grower. Well, now here we go. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. So stick around for the surprise at the end. Let's see. Empathy, everyone answered that one. So the next one, do you exhibit transparency and honesty? If yes, how? Transparency and honesty. I'll go first again, and I'll be short and sweet. Yes, transparency. I'm probably too transparent sometimes. I've always had that quality. And honesty. I'm probably more honest now than I ever have been. But I pretty well have been honest. I think I've lied to myself in the past. I think people do that. I don't mean that it's good. You shouldn't lie to yourself. It's not a good quality. but I think we all have at some time or another. But transparency is important. I mean, I've been accused of wearing my heart on my sleeve in social media and things like that. I don't feel bad about anything I've said when it comes to transparency. It's me. You're getting what I feel and think. Maybe sometimes people don't want to hear that, but it's the way I am. Transparency in sharing what's going on in my life and doing it honestly, the way I felt at the time. You know, I've changed a lot. I'll look back at things I shared in the past and can't believe that I went through that. And sometimes even, or that I shared it with anyone. But I don't regret any of that because it is who I am. Jen, I know you're going to be short. You want to answer this one? Do you exhibit transparency and honesty? If yes, how?
I would say yes. Just being pretty open about what I've been through, mistakes I've made. I think it's one of the most amazing things we can do as humans is to be transparent and authentic. Yeah. What was it? Transparent and open?
Honest.
Honest.
Transparency and honesty.
Transparent and honest. I think it does way more good than the other option. And yep. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to keep listening, but I'm going to get me some hot tea because I don't know what's going on, but it's getting bad.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Ness, do you exhibit transparency and honesty? If yes, how?
You caught me having a bite of my granola. Excuse me.
Let's ask Glenn. We can ask Glenn. Yeah, sure. Glenn, do you exhibit transparency and honesty? If yes, how?
Yep. How? I've got an automatic button. It just works. I don't have to push it.
No.
It's automatic. Some people are going to say I'm too open.
Yeah.
Pragmatic. Blunt.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I like it.
I've got to tell the. If I don't, I've got to tell the truth. That's the. What's the word I'm looking for? That's the objective.
Yeah.
Put it on the table, and if people don't like it, they can speak up.
That's it.
That's right. So they get a choice.
I honestly, Glenn, I appreciate that about you. If I ever really need an honest answer to a question of anyone on the face of the earth, transparent and honest answer, I would ask you. I really would. I would much prefer to have someone tell me the truth from their opinion. And I would always realize it was your opinion. I may not go with it, but I'm going to get an honest answer. And I appreciate that. Okay, I think everyone answered that one.
I'm done with my granola now.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, please.
I'm trying to be, and it's a struggle every day. You know, we work out our salvation with fear and trembling every single day. We mess up all the time. I'm trying to be more open and honest and transparent. And I've got to say, I'm thankful for TSL because I think this has been a venue where I could really demonstrate that openness and that transparency and that vulnerability, sharing my true life stories with all of you. Yeah. And sometimes what I have to share isn't pretty and isn't lovely and isn't, sunshine and roses, but it's the truth. Right. And there's a liberation that comes with unburdening yourself and sharing with other people. And again, everything that I've gone through, maybe there's somebody out there who's gone through something similar. Yeah. And my hope is that this show and us sharing our experiences and hopefully, something I've said has been able to help someone along the way. So I'd say TSL really has been a big, big help for me with being transparent and sharing more.
Well, that's so helpful.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for being part of it and for being willing to be transparent and honest. I feel like you always are. And I appreciate that. We wouldn't be able to do what we do here if everyone wasn't transparent and honest, be willing to share for sure. Christ of the Truth said, "This is a great program." Thank you. I appreciate that. We're kind of in the question Not that we're not a great program or anything, but we're about to talk about how the show is going to move forward. And so I would love your opinion. Christ is truth, but that means a lot. And hello to Bubba News. Bubba News, liberating is a great word. Yes, I would agree. Thank you guys for being here. Okay. I think everyone answered that one. Next one, this is the last question, and then we're going to talk about the future of the channel. So we'll have time to do that. Do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? If yes, how? Do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? I have a burning desire to answer this one first. So, do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? More now than ever. I haven't always been in this place. I think that I had disrespect toward certain people. I've talked about that and touched on that before in the past. But it's very true. Do I allow them to be themselves now? Yes. I want anyone to be themselves. It may end up that I can't be around them being themselves, but I respect it. And I don't want them to be anyone else other than who they are. I have no desire to change anyone, or I don't think I can save anyone. Only God does the saving. I don't think I can put a notch on my book that I brought someone in the family of God. The Holy Spirit does that, or not at all. But I want people to be who they are, and I want to be who I am, and I'm working towards that. I want to respect who I am, and I want to respect who others are as well. How do I do that? It's a lot easier now than it was in the past because I'm not invested in the outcome as far as another person is concerned. People are going to do what they do, and if there's something I can do to help, I will. And if I can be a friend to that person, I will do that. But they make their own choices. So being respectful to people as much as I can, and not meddling, not trying to get them to do something or believe something or be like me. I'm the only one that's like me, and I can't do that for other people. Glenn, do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? If yes, how?
I try to be, and I think I've got a classic example. Most people will recall when you had the YouTube wars with the believers and the doctrinal mudslinging and everything that went down with all that stuff. It's pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
That really tested me, to be honest, because let me just put it in context of the question. I've got to find. I just used to sit there thinking, what on earth? Is everybody like this? is this the future of belief?
Yeah.
It was very demoralizing, to be honest. And it was quite difficult at that point to be respectful to those people who were doing this to others.
Yeah.
But I sort of checked myself, and I came away with the thought that this cannot be representative of believers in general. Surely there are those that have integrity, and I had to pull myself back from being extremely antagonistic at that point and put myself into that place of, hey, just don't judge here. Just sit back, and those people who are authentic will declare themselves. They will come through this, and they will be like a shining light.
Right.
And that happened.
Yeah.
It did resolve itself, and those people did show up. So that taught me a big lesson. Don't race in. Just allow the people. Don't race in and pass that judgment. Allow people to be themselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing you need to say or respond to or intervene or do anything. Just let things resolve themselves, and sure enough, they will. Cream floats to the top.
Yes.
So just allow it. So yes, how is by sitting back, observing, don't pass judgment,
Right.
and you will get plenty of opportunity to respect those people that
So
are
lovely,
out there that deserve it.
lovely answer. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay. Thank you.
Jen, are you just going to listen to the rest of the show, or do you want to comment on this one?
What was the question again?
Do you allow people to be themselves and respect who they are? If yes, how?
Yeah, I kind of chuckled when you answered because it's the same as me.
Yeah.
I have really, really learned a lot about allowing people to be who they are and not getting so bent out of shape. And the weird thing is, I don't think I've been around a lot of people like in my childhood that allowed me to be who I was. And so
Right.
you'd think I would have known how that felt.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
No, you're
It's
making a
just
good
like,
point.
oh my gosh. I honestly think people that were different from me scared me. Used to, and now it's more of an embracing and accepting and just being there for them.
Yeah.
Differences and all.
Wonderful.
To a degree. You don't want it to be anything toxic.
Sure.
But
nothing toxic.
I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Did everyone answer? Okay. All right. Thank you guys for sticking through to the end. So we're going to talk about, we have another 10 minutes, so it should be ample time to get the ball rolling on this. So Glenn says it's a huge topic of which we have only touched the surface. To close the show, I'm asking Cripps to further discuss the direction of True Story Live, TSL. Basically, it would be beneficial to hear why each of us participates in this show, whether directly or via listening to the replay on YouTube. For example, is it allegiance to the show itself, the social interaction, the nature of the content, loyalty to a panel member or members, etc. So we'll start there. So, well, I guess I'll read the whole thing and then I'll go back. Another way of putting this is to ask what is in this show for each of us. There's feedback that the show has become repetitive because we draw upon the thoughts from a fixed panel. Does anyone have any thoughts on the makeup of the panel? Are we too similar in attitudes? Should we be seeking a wider and more diverse range of ideas for discussions? Any other input appreciated? Okay, so anyone that's in the chat and anyone listening to playback, this is the question we're asking. We've been doing this current rotation this time around. I think it's, a year and a half or 2 years? I don't remember when we started back again.
It feels somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years to me.
Right. Okay. So I think we're on the same page. So let's say almost 2 years. We maintain about 10 people and we're not just going by that. We have had some positive feedback from time to time about the content that we have. And so we're just asking for topic ideas. I'm still asking for people to share their stories. What else would you like to have us talk about on the show? And you're very much part of this. If you're listening to this right now, if you listen to the broadcast, we want to know what you think. So the first question is, for example, is it allegiance to the show itself, the social interaction, the nature of the content, loyalty to panel member or members, etc.? Anyone want to weigh in on that on the panel? What is it? Why do you do this?
I'll answer.
Okay.
I've said before, my loyalty to your mother is big for me. Probably the writing. I like that.
Yeah.
And the thought that maybe, just even if it's one person, it's something that might just be said can make a difference to the life of another person.
Yep.
So that's pretty well and short. I'm not so much here for the panel,
Right.
because I think that over time we've tended to become much more aligned in our view of how of the world than we were when we started.
Sure.
So I think that sort of we've become we've found a lot of middle ground that we may not have had before, and
That's
that
true.
makes that can make some of the responses seem to be indicative across the board.
Yeah.
So that's just a thought.
Yeah. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
I would agree with you completely. I am a little loyal to the panel members and to the people that show up. I can't say there's not any of that for me. It is allegiance to the show itself. I mean, I started this, I don't know, I think it's probably been almost 6 years ago. And, but to be honest, if I was the only one here, if I didn't have a panel to talk to, I wouldn't do this. I don't feel like having my own channel where I just talk. I am not into that. The value of things is in people's stories and in having conversations about the stories. And, we're not just reading 2 hours worth of story or an hour of a story and then commenting on it. But I get people's stories. Everybody on the panel shares their life with us and the way they see things, their answers to, honestly, sometimes some pretty tough questions. And out of that, a story is told. And I'll stick around for that as long as everyone wants to. Will we be doing this in 10 years? I don't know. 20 years? We're still going to be doing it then? I don't know. But I know that the only thing that remains the same is change. And so, if we, I'm not saying anyone's thinking about quitting, but if we quit, a couple of years go by, are we going to miss it? I know I would. But people need to make their own decisions, of course, and I would respect that. But for me, it's a lot of reasons why I do the show. I do it because people show up in the chat, and I have got to know people. I mean, I could always know people better, and I would prefer to meet people in person, face to face, if that was an opportunity. But I can't. I can't always do that. People live in different states and can't always do that. So this is a connector. It's a step up, in my opinion, from just YouTube, because we actually get to talk to people directly. Would I like more talking from people? Sure. I would be open to hearing anything from anyone on the panel or in the chat if they wanted to share it. And I would love for them to share their stories with us. I still want that. And I would add it at any time. If someone sent me an email with a story to read and to discuss, if they would be willing to be that transparent, I would do that. Jen and I do that. We have a channel that focuses on narcissistic abuse, but we don't have a shortage of people writing in. It's just, we get busy with things, and there's this channel, which is the primary channel. But some people are willing to share their stories, but we don't want to just focus on narcissism. We want it to be on everything, if at all possible. So I'll let some other people answer, but I definitely agree with Glenn and what he said, and I feel like I added a couple things to it maybe. That's where I stand. Ness, how do you feel about it? Is it, for example, this is just an example, you can speak from your heart, of course. Is it allegiance to the show itself, the social interaction, the nature of the content, loyalty to a panel member or members, etc.? Any of that?
It's all of that, and more, with the hope that there will be more people who come forward, whether they want to be recognized publicly or remain anonymous, to share their life story, their experiences, their encounters, their testimonies, whatever it is that's on their heart to share, whatever they've gone through. Maybe something that's caused a great tragedy or a great hurt, or how they've dealt with pain, or being afraid, or things that challenge their faith or question their faith, or anything like that. I'm just as open as you are, Cripps. I'd like to just hear more of what's on people's minds. And there's enough between the four of us that we can field whatever you guys bring to us. So I'm ready to take it on, whatever. There's no subject taboo in my book. I can say that.
Okay, great. I appreciate that, Nez. Thank you. Jen's throat is hurting her real bad, so she's out. So she's not going to be able to answer the questions, but I'm sure we'll hear from her when she's feeling better. She just stepped in and let me know that. So we'll hear more from her later. So we had one comment from Okie Grower. They say, don't want to be the bad guy, but I'd like to see y'all spice it up a touch. Maybe topics for a broader audience will grow our networks. Heart. You're not the bad guy. That's what we asked for. Glenn was saying earlier that he's blunt. I don't even think that's blunt. I think you're just sharing your opinion, and we all appreciate it. I think I can speak for everyone to say that's exactly what we're asking for. Nobody has to be a jerk, and you're definitely not a jerk. The way you presented it was perfect, in my opinion. So we're willing to have people be blunt or share whatever they think about the current setup for TSL. I don't think any of our feelings will be hurt. We want to keep it fresh, and so we are continually open. You can send us an email if you'd prefer to do that. Any one of us. Nez has put her email, I'm sure already, and maybe she'd be willing to do it again, and I'll put mine in there. As soon as the show's over, the chat will still be running, so I'll make sure and put that in there. I can't do both at the same time, unfortunately. So send us your opinions, send us your stories, send us your topic ideas. Okie Grower, I would love to know what you mean. I guess you answered topics other than Bible study guide materials. I am a Christian. It pushes folks away. Topics that anyone can relate to. Anyone can relate to. Okay, I appreciate you explaining that a little bit more. Thank you. So we'll talk about that, the four of us, and add that to the pile and see what we can come up with. This isn't on you guys in the chat alone. We're just wanting to open it up to you. We, the panel, have to make a decision what we're going to do. One of the suggestions was to, let me read that. So does anyone have any thoughts about the makeup of the panel? Are we too similar in attitude? Should we be seeking a wider, more diverse range of ideas for discussion? So I think that last part, we've heard a little bit about that. Wider and more diverse range of ideas for discussion. That's what Okie Grower said. So Glenn touched a little bit on, we've come to similar attitudes in a lot of things. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I don't think we're an echo chamber. I think each of us has still different ideas about how we come across the same question or the same topics. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what it feels like to me. But maybe changing some of the topics we talk about can bring some more of that out. I don't think we're hoping that we disagree and we're not ever going to argue and fight on here. That's not going to happen, but we can disagree on things we have in the past, and that'd be okay. Anyone else want to say anything before we close it down? Do you feel like that's enough to give people an idea of what we're looking for?
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure. Okay.
I'll give you a bit of background. As you know, probably you don't know, I've actually been going back to the church a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually to a couple of services, and I've been to some social events where I've been able to talk to people. And whilst I was doing that, I was very interested in the attitudes and approaches of people in the church and the congregation in particular. Some of it which echoes things that I've heard on here, I've seen on other channels. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm finding it interesting, and I've said I'd like to go and have a chat to them, but I haven't got about some of this stuff. Which, you know me, I'm a question asker. I'm inquisitive about everything.
Sure.
And as I've said to them, I'm not coming to speak to you because the objective is that I want to pick your brains to write shows. That's not right. That is not the case.
Right.
So it's not my primary focus. But I just thought there's overlap. There may be overlap here.
Sure.
For some shows based on the integration of faith and belief into life itself.
Oh, I love that.
So it's in my head, and I thought, well, maybe if I go to a church environment, it's different from what I expected. Just what I found is I was thinking, okay, well, am I gonna get the push? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get that subtle recoil. Okay, this is who this guy is, or what's he doing here, sort of thing.
Sure.
And I've been asked that, what's an atheist doing here? But I've been very pleasantly surprised by their attitude and their openness towards me, which I really didn't know what to think. But anyway, that being said, I think that maybe there are some views that come from a church would maybe be beneficial. That's why I'm putting the big question mark up here for you guys.
Yeah.
To think, do you think be beneficial to do some stuff on that? Considering that not many people here go to a church as such.
Right.
So maybe look for is there some commonality here between those who do and those who don't? And maybe it is different from what you guys have found.
It could be.
What I'm finding. So if people are willing for me to explore that, please speak.
Well, I would love for you to explore that. I think we all would like that. I
would agree. I was in favor of you doing a more deep dive into this church you've been going to, Glenn, from whatever perspective you feel like coming from. It never hurts to ask questions, and the only way you're going to find out is to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested in you doing a show, if not a series, on your experiences ongoing with Christians and Christianity at large, but particularly with this particular group that you've been exposing yourself to. So I'm all for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have made it very clear, as I do to everyone, I'm not anywhere to challenge people's faith.
Right.
At all. That is not, there's no agenda to challenge their faith. But
No.
But if there was an agenda, it's to challenge their thinking.
Right. Well, that's all you've done here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you've done here is challenge thinking.
So the motivation is honourable, absolutely. But I'm finding the more people I speak to, oh man, I'm getting some interesting stuff. It's actually just coming out of conversation, stuff that I wouldn't have even thought of.
Okay.
So quite fascinating.
All right. Well, we've got a couple things to talk about. I'm not trying to rush us out of here, but I can smell cooking being done. We haven't had dinner yet.
Well, come and cook my dinner.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, so we're putting it out to you guys in the chat, and you all have said some wonderful things in there about your loyalty to each other and to panel members, and there have been some really lovely things, and we will take everything that is said in the chat. We'll examine the chat again when we got to this point and take in consideration everything everyone says. But I appreciate what appears to me to be loyalty from the people that do come to the chat, and it seems like it's very meaningful to you guys in some ways, and that's one of the many reasons why we keep coming back every Sunday. So we're not talking about quitting at this point or anything. We're just going to see if we can shake things up a little bit. I think we're all on board with that. And thank you guys for being here. And I'll say goodbye for Jen. I'm hoping that she feels better. She had some hot tea. Her throat's bothering her for some reason. I hope she's not catching a cold, but we'll take care of her and see what's going on with that. But so I'll say goodnight for her. Hope everyone has a good week. Thank you for being here. As always, if you're listening to playback, thank you for your time. I appreciate it so much. And if you want to make comments on this video, about topic ideas, or if you have a story you want to write to be read and discussed here, we're open to that. And so I'll say goodnight to everyone. Thank you. Glenn, you want to take a minute and say goodnight to everybody? If you have any closing comments, please make them.
I shall say goodnight. I'll say thank you to everyone for your comments, thoughts, very much appreciated, and as is your coming each week or whenever you can. So thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that. Nez, last but not least, of course, if you could close us down and say goodnight to everybody. If you have any closing comments, please make them.
Certainly, Crips. Thank you so much. I just wanted to once more put it out there. My email is in the description. If Glenn or Crips want to throw their email out there real quick, for if you'd more comfortable reaching out to them, please go ahead and do that. We're even open to the idea of if you are wanting to be considered to join us up on panel for a particular topic or to help tell your true life story, please get a hold of us. We're wide open to these suggestions.
Yep.
And thank you for everyone who's taken the time to give us your suggestions.
Thank
you, everybody who has come tonight. Thank you to everybody who came forward in the chat. Thanks to everybody who might have just lurked and not participated in the chat, although we do invite you to do so. And we thank you for all the people watching the replay and people who take the time to share this out on your social media. It's truly appreciated. And prayers for Jen to feel better, and lift up prayers for the people in Hawaii and the people in Canada and other places in the world that are being tormented by these terrible fires going on, and prayers for the people that are reaching out to help those people. Certainly. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. God willing, we'll see you next Sunday, right here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on True Story Live. Everybody have a great night or a great day, and God bless.